Hello everybody. So this video is going to show us how to write a dialogue, which essentially is the exact same as an interview or a script for a play. So writing a dialogue, we need to remember that when you write a dialogue, it is always in the present tense and it must be written in the first person. Your dialogue are the actual words that your character or your people are saying. So it is in present tense because your people are currently actually saying it, and it is in first person because it is their point of view and it is their words. Very important that everyone forgets when they're writing a dialogue in a test and an exam is that you need to have your instructions and your actions or your emotions in brackets. Okay, this helps the actor or actress bring the dialogue to life. When we speak as people, we change the tone of our voice. We have facial expressions. We have body language. And so when you're writing a dialogue, you need to show the reader exactly the state of mind that that person or that character is in. And you can do this by having these emotions or instructions or actions in brackets. So the person that is playing your character knows exactly what the character is feeling or what their body looks like or where they are. And very important as well for your tests and exams, always remember to include your word count at the end. So how do we write a dialogue? Now the first step that we need to look at is obviously we need to read our instructions. We need to read what is the topic. And this is where you will then scribble down some ideas for your dialogue. Your planning is of the utmost importance. Because if you don't have effective planning, it means that your characters are going to be very one-sided and one-dimensional, and you're not going to have much pizzazz at all. So try and also create characters that have very interesting names. Don't be boring in who your characters are. So scribble down these ideas in your planning. The better your planning or the more informed that your planning is, the easier it is to actually write your dialogue. Step number 2, you need to rule a left-hand margin of about 3 to 4 centimeters down your page. Make sure that you do this in pencil, that it's quite light, and I'll get to just now when I show you an example to explain why we have a left-hand margin, why it's important to have a left-hand margin. Step number 3, we need to have an introductory paragraph. It's very important that before our characters start speaking, we need to have a setting of the scene. Okay, we need to know what time of day it is. Where are my characters? What is the location? What is the setting? What is happening? And you've got to almost think of it as a play. When that curtain lifts, what do we see? Okay, so this will all be stated in our introductory paragraph. It sets the scene for our dialogue. And then our last step, step number 4, begin the conversation. Now, each line has an indication of emotional or state of mind of the character. So these are these brackets that I was speaking about. And you must remember that when you are writing the conversation, it is always in present tense and in first person. So let's look at this example. My family tree and me. It is a sunny Sunday. It is a sunny Sunday at 24 Mount View Drive in Malabar, Port Elizabeth. Alex is sitting at the kitchen table with his grandmother, who is 73 years old and yet is still a lively young woman. There is a window next to them. So right there in my introduction includes all the information about my characters and my setting. Who are my characters? It's Alex and the grandmother. Where are they? They're sitting at the kitchen table. Okay, they even tell us it's a Sunday. They tell us the address. We're in PE. It's a beautiful sunny Sunday. The grandmother is old, so she's 73, yet she's still a very lively young woman. And we can see in our minds exactly where they are. So this introduction is incredibly important in setting the scene, because me as a reader and you as a reader, we can now picture in our mind exactly who these two people are and where they are. Right, so now this is where we then start the dialogue. Now what we would have had when we are prepping our paper is that we're going to have our 2 or 3 centimeter margin right here. So there I have my characters' names, Alex and Ma, so grandmother, her name is there, and we start our dialogue. So it says, Alex, in between mouthfuls of delicious curry and rice, Ma, where are your parents from? Ma, sitting on a stool opposite him. Oh, my mother and father both from North End. They met when they were 23. No, wait. She counts on her fingers. My mother was 25, or whatever it was, when she married my father, who was 27 years old at the time. So, we can see immediately there are our brackets which tell us what is happening. Okay, here in these brackets here, we can see exactly what the grandmother is doing. She's busy counting on her fingers. So in my mind as the reader, I automatically see what the grandmother is doing. Now, very important to note when we're writing our dialogue, you can see that my colons here are all in a line, and this needs to continue even when you turn over the page. The second very important thing when you're writing a dialogue, you can see that the words of what Alex and what Ma are saying go directly underneath each other. They are not written underneath the names. This just helps us when we are acting out a script like this, that we can see exactly what Alex is saying and doing and exactly what Ma is saying or doing. Right, so that is the first bit. Now this is the rest of my dialogue. Alex, again, we can see there the names in the 2-3 centimeter margin. My colons are all in a line. And your grandparents? My mother's mother was from Mauritius, and my father's father was from Singapore. The rest of the family were all Indians. And then she says sadly. So there we can see our emotive words. Tells us exactly what Ma has on her almost facial expression, her tone of voice. It is such a shame that your grandfather never saw South Africa. So Alex, we can see again emotion, very inquisitively asks, what was he like? You never say much about him. Ma, she says this with pride and surprising firmness and factualness. He was a good man, always smartly dressed. He could do anything. And here again we can see, we can almost imagine exactly what Ma looks like. She's smiling, she's half laughing, and she's counting on her fingers. He could fish, he grew chickens, he made biltong, he did woodwork, he made leather bags, boots and gloves. He could do anything. And then we can see through these words in the brackets that she now is looking out the window. But he's gone now. All of them are gone. It's just me left now. And then she looks back at Alex and smiles. And that's the end of my dialogue. So in my mind, I can picture exactly what has just happened in this conversation. And again, like any transactional writing piece or any writing piece in general, I have my word count at the end. So remember, it's very, very important that you have your 3 centimeter margin. Your names of your characters are in that margin. The colons all line up, and the words that the character speaks is not written directly underneath the character's names, but is rather all in a neat line underneath each other.